I can see clearly now the horse is gone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of The Dissection. Yesterday at the ad hoc committee, something explosive happened. Some explosive details emerged, and then after that, an explosive event happened, which leads everyone to ask the question, how powerful is Paul O'Sullivan? How powerful is Paul O'Sullivan? How is it that he has this web of influence if the allegations are true? Who is this man? Now, the explosive revelations were that Paul O'Sullivan, as alleged by Nkabinde, has been a key role player in IPID, in SAPS, in crime intelligence, that he has been giving out instructions, coordinating strategies, effecting the fall of national police commissioners, acting national police commissioners, and a variety of other individuals. Now, what Nkabinde says in his version is that he made a complaint, which then led to Robert Mcbride not having his contract renewed. And that put him on the radar of Paul O'Sullivan. That earned him the enmity of Paul O'Sullivan. So let me just give you some context before we look at the Nkabinde allegations. Robert Mcbride was appointed as the head of IPID by Nathi Mthethwa in March of 2014, right? Nathi Mthethwa now cannot come and give his version, his explanation, because as you all know, at the beginning of these proceedings, just after General Mkhwanazi had given his testimony, Nathi Mthethwa fell from a hotel in Paris, from a high, hotel room in Paris, and he then passed on. So now he cannot give a version. But Nathi Mthethwa was responsible for the appointment of Robert Mcbride in 2014. Robert Mcbride was suspended from his role in March of 2015. He then went to the courts and he argued a technical point on his suspension, that the minister basically shouldn't have those powers and exceeded his powers in doing that suspension. He didn't actually argue the merits of his conduct and that his conduct was justified. It was a technical point. He won the argument in the Constitutional Court. Now, this particular detail around the court litigation is important to keep in mind because Paul O'Sullivan has claimed that he is the reason why that court case was won. So between March of 2015 and October of 2016, Robert Mcbride is suspended. He goes to High Court first, then he goes to the Constitutional Court. Do you see how quickly the court moved in this particular instance? Almost within a period of a year, Mcbride was actually back at his work. Now we are waiting for a Constitutional Court judgment on the Phala matter, which was taken to the Constitutional Court by the EFF. That judgment is still not out, but the Constitutional Court was able to rule relatively fast on the issue of Robert Mcbride. Now, this is what Paul O'Sullivan said about his involvement with that litigation. Take a look.
I then went to Helen Suzman Foundation, and I funded the Helen Suzman Foundation with a substantial amount of money to bring an application to have Robert Mcbride's suspension overturned, and he was reinstated back at IPID. Now, in addition to putting money in myself, I canvassed donations from other business people that I knew that were comfortable or well off. And together we pulled enough money to bring the necessary court applications, and Mcbride got his job back. The week after he got his job back, I met with him at IPID and I said, "Come, we've got a corrupt chief of police now. What are you going to do about it?" And he appointed a task team and they got on with it and dealt with it. And what I did in the first few weeks of that task team's activities, I sat with them on a regular basis and gradually handed over all the evidence that I had gathered over the previous year in order to leapfrog them into the position where they were then able to go after Pashlani. And Pashlani, as you know, was arrested and charged with corruption and is still on trial now. I think he's facing at least 500 million rands worth of corruption charges. And that was Paul O'Sullivan, by the way, that put all that together with IPID. Of course, I put it together and gave it to IPID. I don't have a power of arrest. I can't go knocking on Pashlani's door and arrest him. IPID had to take that over. I couldn't take that to DPCI because DPCI was owned. The whole of the criminal justice system had been captured. So what did I do? In 2019, between 2018, after I beat all these fake charges they brought against me to shut me up, I then spent from 2018 to 2020.
This is quite explosive. Helen Suzman has denied Paul O'Sullivan's version. It's important for me to say that for balance and to be fair to them. But why would he claim to have done it in the manner that he claimed? One of them is lying. Either Paul O'Sullivan is lying or Helen Suzman is lying, the foundation. We need clarity on that. Now, this exchange was interesting, and the whole testimony of Nkabinde actually yesterday was interesting because we actually thought Brown Mkhotsi was going to be the singer. It turned out that Nkabinde was going to be the singer. Behind the scenes or in the last 10 days or whatever, events may have played out in their side of the world where eventually decisions were made. And Brown has chosen to go down with the ship. But Nkabinde has chosen that he's not going down with the ship. And, let the chips fall where they may. He is actually going to sing. And he has been singing. And he was singing. Now, he said a lot about Senzo Mchunu, but that's not what's going to be the focus of this video. The focus of this video is on this man, Paul O'Sullivan, and the allegations about him. And you could tell that Umkhonto weSizwe yesterday had a strategy, and they wanted really to unearth and center Paul O'Sullivan. And I think it's not unjustified that they do that because he is a key figure in all of this. And he has been speaking in media. He has been also threatening and intimidating people. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And I think as a basis of that, it's important to get an understanding of his role. Now, I don't know why Paul O'Sullivan has all of this influence and is able to pull the strings in the manner that they are saying he did. But I think it's important for you to understand the allegations. And this part of the discussion happens at about 7 hours into the proceedings yesterday. So if you want to go watch that, go check it about 7 hours. For these exchanges. And then later, towards the end, he gets asked about him again. But this is what Nkabinde said. This is part of it, not the whole thing. Just giving you a short perspective on what he was saying about Paul O'Sullivan and the role that he played. He even said that the media was participating in these activities. Here's what he said.
Now, you are saying Paul O'Sullivan wrote an email to the National Commissioner.
Yes.
Who is this Paul O'Sullivan? Because even General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, when he came here, he spoke about him. What is his interest in SAPS? Does he play any official role in SAPS?
He does not play any role in SAPS, but is in charge. I was reporting what Mcbride and Paul O'Sullivan are doing. So I know they just hate me with passion.
Okay.
Including Sesogo,
Yeah.
the one that is with IDEC.
Did you ever have a relationship with Paul O'Sullivan?
No, not at all. He was working with us.
Well, what do you mean working with you? Because he is not. He does not have any official responsibility, right, at SAPS.
That's exactly what I was reporting. He was leading us, but from outside.
Did he ever have any influence in SAPS?
Not only in SAPS, he's running IPID. He's running SAPS. He's running NPA.
How does he successfully interferes in SAP's operations? Does he has people that he works with in SAPS? Is he connected to some influential people who just take instructions from him? And if so, who are those people?
Yeah, he works with very senior people in SAPS in such a way that even with that appointment, my appointment, they leaked it to him. He even wrote there that I know about an imminent appointment of Nkabinde. Then you dare appoint him. So now, how does he get? He even got internal documents.
So while you were still working for IPIT, did you ever get any instruction from him? Or did he ever try to influence you to take a particular position?
Yes, he was giving us instruction.
How was
He was in charge of us.
How was he giving you instructions? Was he calling you, or he was coming to your offices, or he was sending you SMSs? How did it happen?
He come to the office. He hold meetings with us to tell us what to do. At some stage, he will have. He will go and interview our witnesses, portraying as if he worked for IPID, having our letterhead of IPID. He will just call you to come and sign, and it's done everything.
Yeah, because what I'm trying to understand here is, how does an outsider who does not work for SAPS how does he has so much influence in SAPS operations? Where is he getting those powers from? I mean, it means the system is very loose at SAPS. Anybody can just go in and call staff members and invite them to a meeting. Is it loose to that extent that anyone like myself, I can just go to any SAPS offices here or IPIT offices and say, guys, let's meet in the boardroom, let's have a meeting, and give you instructions?
Yeah, no, they are in charge. He is in charge.
But where does he get those powers from? Because for you to be in charge, you must get powers from somewhere.
Hey, we don't know. Maybe this, at least now, it's revealed now to the higher authority in Parliament.
So
because this thing was never even attended to. My report was never even interrogated, except that Minister Cele used it not to renew his contract. But the allegation, they were never dealt with. In fact, I'm the one who's suffering outside. That even when I've got an opportunity to get a job, Paul O'Sullivan will send one email to stop me. Now, it means even this appointment, I only got it because it was a hierarchy from a political office. He could not stop it.
Yeah. So what you are saying here is that you were not appointed because of his influence.
Yes. One email
to the National Commissioner.
Yes.
So the National Commissioner acted in accordance with the instructions of Paul O'Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay. So did he ever influence a dismissal of anybody or a removal from any position of any person who ever worked for SAPS?
Yeah, that was the project that we were in, which is part of what I was reporting. The project was to make sure that General Pahlane does not get appointed as a permanent national commissioner. He was an acting national commissioner by then.
No, wait. So when you are saying it's a project that you were in, do you also involve yourself in that project?
Hence, I reported it, yes.
So you were a group that was plotting against General Pahlane?
We were in that task team that were plotting with an instruction of Mcbride and Paul O'Sullivan.
So how were you plotting? Were you holding physical meetings or?
Physical meetings and how we're gonna do it. That's why I ended up reporting this. It was against my conscience, destroying people. Then Pahlane was then suspended. Motiba came in as an acting national commissioner. We go for him.
Now, these are very serious allegations, and the implications are also very serious because we've been told for a long time that state capture is the worst thing that can ever happen to a nation. We've been told that when external individuals are able to influence the appointment of key figures to organs of the state, that is state capture. And we've also been told that one of the most powerful positions in South Africa is the position of National Commissioner of Police. We've also seen, presentations that Paul O'Sullivan was making, where he was saying that he was making spreadsheets looking at who was not chosen for commissioner of police, and then he was the one who recommended certain names, and then at some point he was told that Fanny Masemola was the choice, and then he didn't support that choice. We've seen all of that. Now, if these allegations have any merit whatsoever, the question then becomes, is this not state capture? Is this not it? What is the source of this man's authority and power that he can be able to pull strings in this kind of a manner? If it's true that the Guptas captured the state, has the police service in some degree or the intelligence community or whatever not been captured by this individual? So I think Mkhwanazi has mentioned him. Nkabinde has said some very scathing things. There's no love lost clearly between them because of the Robert Mcbride issue, because it was the report that he wrote that implicated Robert Mcbride, and then the parliamentary committee then voted not to extend his contract and say that his contract shouldn't be extended. Interestingly, in that police committee, when they discussed these issues, because Bekele didn't want Mcbride to be the head of IPID anymore, and then he raised this report. So that can also explain Bekele's side of the story and where he fits in. He's not a friend or ally of Mcbride. Now, what we were told, or what happened, not what we were told, what happened is Diane Kohler-Barnett actually opposed the decision not to extend the contract of Robert Mcbride. She wanted Robert Mcbride to continue. Now, what we hear later in the testimony of Nkabinde is that there's a relationship between Paul O'Sullivan, Robert Mcbride, Matthew Siseko, and possibly other people. Now, Matthew Siseko is the one who is leading the investigation, which then led to General Khumalo being arrested and prevented from doing his work. Now, remember, top secret documents showed up under Faisal Adam's door, and those documents were then used to open a case. That case was sent to several police stations. The police were still working on it. While the police were working on it, it was then sent to IDEC. And then we heard that IDEC then effected that arrest of Khumalo. And then Khumalo was not able to continue with the work which he was doing. What work was he doing? He was doing very important work in apprehending key members of a cartel that we know was implicated in tenderpreneur fraud and other activities. One of the leaders of that cartel, Katiso Molefe. We've seen voluminous evidence around what he was doing. We saw his activities and involvement in the murder of Aman Swat. This is still to be ventilated in court, so it's alleged, but we saw the full extent of that from witness A, B, and C. We saw how the hawks were then sent to the house of Katiso Molefe in a manner that remains inexplicable after we listened to several high-level generals. We've also heard about relationships between Sibiya as well as Katiso Molefe. And we've also heard from Vusi Matlala's side of the story from those voice notes about Sibiya's role. And we've seen somebody go and collect chocolates from Mulefe's house. This is the work that Khumalo was on. Now, in one of his interviews on Biz News, Paul O'Sullivan suggested that he supports Cedric Sibiya, General Cedric Sibiya. So it may very well be that there is a relationship between Paul O'Sullivan, Robert Mcbride, Matthew Sissoko, as well as Cedric Nkabinde, and some of the other people who've been mentioned in this particular thing. So, because those allegations are so serious and they remain allegations at this point, I think it's important that Paul O'Sullivan is called, both to the ad hoc committee and to the Madlanga Commission. He has been mentioned multiple times. Kwanazi, Nkabinde, Begicele have mentioned him. He has, the nature of the references about him have been so serious that I think it's worthwhile for him to be called to both of those forums to discuss what he may or may not know, his role, whatever it may be, in all of the shenanigans that we have been following, all of the horse curry behavior. You know, later on, we were then told by Nkabinde that he got a text message from Paul O'Sullivan. And this is what Nkabinde said happened.
Sorry, Chair, to disturb the process. I think it's important that I put this message, which I received now, into the record.
Yeah.
As I'm eating there, I received this message from Paul O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Get ready, you lying crook. I am going to make sure you spend some years in prison. You were bribed by Mkwanazi and Mabula. Now you will pay for your crimes, guaranteed.
If that's true, that's witness intimidation. If true, I don't know. We haven't seen the phone. He will have to go and open a case if he did get that message. But members of parliament were very concerned about this particular development. And when I thought about it, we were told that witness intimidation is the reason why General Khumalo cannot go back to the crime intelligence offices, because it's so serious. And yet here we observe an instance of witness intimidation while a witness is testifying to parliament. Who is this guy? You know, Paul O'Sullivan, for me, I was most shocked by him when he basically shouted at Sakina Kamwendo. And she's my favorite. When she does interviews, she can get to the bottom of everything. And he shouted at her. I couldn't understand. I think he said, "Do you know who I am?" or whatever. I don't remember what he said. But that to me was a very chilling moment to see somebody say to an national level journalist, senior journalist of Sakina Kamwendo's stature, the things that Paul O'Sullivan said to her that day. Who is this guy? I don't know what you guys think about what Nkabinde said yesterday about Paul O'Sullivan. I don't know if the committee will call him. I don't know if the commission is going to call him. But it seems very interesting. And I have to say, because I don't want to get another call, Jimmy. These are the allegations of Cedric Nkabinde, General Mkwanazi, and Begicele. In the media, and YouTube is part of media, we cover these topics so that the public can have a better understanding as per Section 16 of the Constitution. But after everything that's happened, I know that I can see clearly now the horse is gone. I can see clearly now the horse is gone. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.